Hello everybody, my name is Loretta MacInnes and I'm a trustee of CamRARE and I'm a rare disease patient, parent and advocate. And I'm really delighted to introduce to you this next session, Rare Voices, Rare Young Voices and Choices. So we'll hear from 5 amazing young people who all have a rare disease. 2 will be via video and 3 have already joined us on the stage. Now, 2 of these young voices are also part of Unique Feet. Unique Feet is CamRARE's very own group for young people and their families. A group that meets locally for support, activities and companionship, and that is building into a collective voice for rare families in the Eastern region. This session will be chaired by David Rose. Now, David has an ultra-rare condition called occipital horn syndrome. As well as working in business development for Rare Revolution magazine, David is a well-regarded conference speaker covering topics such as navigating employment with a rare disease, the diagnostic journey, and the science behind his own rare condition. Alongside this, David volunteers for Great Ormond Street Hospital, where he received his childhood care, and is also a trustee for the Mitra Naroff support. So please join me in welcoming David and the panellists.
Hi everyone, thank you very much Loretta for that lovely introduction. This is a nice opportunity for me. Normally it's me being a panellist, so this is my second chance to chair a meeting, so I'm really looking forward to this. As you've already said, the meeting, we're going to have 5 people. 3 of them are going to be here in person, and 2 of them are going to be doing it remotely. We'll do the presentations, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end, and then we'll do a quick summary of the call to action. So first up, we have Katrina, who's doing hers by video. She's going to be talking a bit about herself, a bit about life in general, and her experiences with rare disease.
Hello everyone, I'm Katrina, and I'm part of Rare Youth Revolution. I run a blog called Kathy's Territory, as well as running a community interest company with my mum, all of which is focused around my experiences with my rare disease lupus and how it's impacted my life. I was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 9, which is rare, and some of the common symptoms are chronic pain, fatigue, and complications with different organs in your body due to a dysfunctional immune system. My theme is rare diseases are for life. I want to talk about the long-lasting and ongoing effects that come with having a rare disease, share my own experiences, as well as common challenges we face as young people living with a rare disease. Being diagnosed with a rare disease is a life-changing moment. Whether you're diagnosed at birth or later on in life, the physical and emotional effects will last a lifetime. I was diagnosed with lupus at 9, and I don't think me or my family knew how much the diagnosis would impact not only my physical health, but my mental health as well. I want to advocate for more transparency when it comes to preparing newly diagnosed young people. Looking back on my diagnosis, I wish someone would have better prepared me for some of the hard and unique challenges that come with having a rare disease, such as attending school, maintaining friendships, and the drastic impact on my mental health even at the young age of 9. Finding a way to live all the different changes that come with having a rare disease can sometimes feel like an impossible task. Accepting that some things that others find easy will forever be difficult for you can be the hardest part. I spent a lot of time trying to find different ways to achieve the goal of being normal, but our unique burden yet power as young people with rare diseases is we get to create our own paths to our dreams, while still battling whatever our disease throws at us. For me, finding the right people and environments that will accept and adapt to your rare disease makes a big difference. One thing that's especially difficult when you have a rare disease at a young age is the future. Thinking about the future is difficult enough, but when you add a rare disease into the equation, planning ahead requires a lot of flexibility for change. When you have a rare disease at a young age, all the normal changes that come with life become even more complicated. And something as straightforward as moving from primary school to secondary school, finding a job, and going on holiday can become even more complicated. Life with a rare disease requires a lot more planning, and small tasks become bigger challenges with more steps. Learning to juggle all the different aspects that come with life and having a rare disease can be very overwhelming. Pacing yourself, support from your family, friends, and trusted professionals can have a significant positive impact on how you cope and manage. No matter how long you've had your rare disease, or whether it's curable or not, the effects it can have on you and your life will last a lifetime. The impact it's having you physically, or the impact it's having you mentally, are things that most likely can't be prepared. For me, even if tomorrow a cure for my disease was created, and I would still have a lot of problems to manage. Rare diseases are for life. The impact and trauma to you and even those around you will never truly be gone, but I know that even with the negatives that come with having a rare disease, there are a lot of positives. My rare disease has given me some incredible opportunities and driven me to try and use my experiences, both positive and negative, to help inspire other young people facing the challenges of having a rare disease. My priority for the rare disease framework would be lifelong support for physical and mental health. My call to action is that healthcare and education professionals and employers recognise that the impact of rare diseases is lifelong and requires compassion, empathy, support and suitable accommodations to be made throughout life.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Eric next, who is over here. He'll be talking about what it's like to live with a really, really rare disease and how it's affected him during COVID as well.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, my name is Eric. I have a diagnosis with a syndrome without a name, or SWAN. I won't go into the specific genetic mutations, as to put it plainly, I don't remember them. There's a lot of them, but as you can expect with something that's, I think, 2 million lines long. But yeah. Alongside my the SWAN, as I call it, there's a few more, I wouldn't say mainstream, but common, few more common conditions like autism and dyslexia, but yeah, that's enough about that. So when in early 2020, things were looking up. This was before March, as you. When the lockdown measures were introduced in March, I was completely overwhelmed by the changes. Although luckily enough, I did manage to adapt. And when the pandemic was winding down around late 21, I was beginning to return to normalcy, but no such thing as normal. I've slowly begun to emerge from the, you could say, siege mentality of the pandemic. Enough about me. So while accommodations are making individual accommodations are absolutely necessary, the primary objective at this point should be to increase awareness of the needs for those with rare disease on an individual and collective level. Ultimately, total awareness isn't possible, and I know that much, but as I said, our primary objective should be to create greater awareness as well as conduct research into the effects. Yeah. Thank you for listening to my ramblings.
Thank you very much, Eric. That was excellent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'd now like to introduce you to Max, who will be talking about struggles with employment.
So I broke my leg during the CamRARE fun run and kept running. because I, among many other things, I have a genetic disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder, which causes joint dislocations, joint pain, nerve pain, a whole rung of other symptoms. And it didn't hurt more than my daily pain, so I just kept running. So yeah, pain has been in my life for as long as I can remember. So I'd say probably 14 is when I started seeking help. And 14-ish is roughly when all of my other things started. So I'll give you the cliff notes on my disabilities, because there's quite a few of them. So we've got the EDS. I have a rare condition/trait called cold urticaria, which means I am allergic to the cold. So if like 9 months of the year when I breathe outside, my throat swells up, which is really a lot of fun. I'm also deaf-blind, which isn't a condition in itself, but it seems to be like a rare term, I guess. The deafness and the visual impairment are also two separate things because I'm just that awesome. So in a cruel twist of fate, the universe said, screw you, Max, and my visual impairment is called visual snow syndrome. So I'm allergic to cold, and one of my syndromes is snow-related. Love that for me. So I'm sort of like the end point, I guess, of our Rare Voices panel, because I'm 27. EDS makes me look about 12 years old, so I guess I pass for like proper young person. But I grew up with pain, and I grew up with disabilities, and I grew up with difficulties that weren't being recognized by really anyone. So I'd go to the doctor and they'd say growing pains, and I'm like, growing pains don't cause your knee to dislocate, but okay, you're the doctor and I'm not. And then going into school, just being in pain constantly, and it affects everything from concentration to being able to sit at my desk, to interacting with my peers, to after school clubs, to all of the things that make you look good on a university personal statement. All the things you sell yourself with were affected by my body, and my body just being itself. So I did eventually get into university, and it wasn't my first choice, it was actually my insurance choice. I had never visited because I fall into that category of the former gifted kid who then burnt out academically because they had undiagnosed neurodivergence. So I'm not really going to talk about the neurodivergence aspect because it's not really that rare, it's not really that interesting. But yeah, so I really struggled when I got to university, and then I had that independence to make my own healthcare decisions. So if I was in pain, I didn't have to go. And the university were not super accommodating. They were like great emotionally. They were like, yeah, okay, if that works for you, that works for you. But they could have done more to help get me there. So with the pandemic coming and then everything going like, yeah, we'll do like virtual lessons. They could have done that when I was disabled and struggling. So fast forward, sort of mid-university time, I joined the wheelchair basketball team because I have now learned to run badly, but at the time I could not run at all. And someone approached me and was like, hey, do you want to join the wheelchair basketball team? And I was like, but I don't use a wheelchair. Aha, mistake number one. Anyone can play wheelchair basketball. So I learned in that one training session that, oh my God, wheelchair, that can get me to university. Awesome. So I did that. I became the assistant coach, and I coached our Play for Fun team. So we had newbies coming, like, oh, I want to play wheelchair basketball, yay. How do I push a wheelchair? And it's like, I got you. So tick in the box, leadership, team management skills, assistant coach, awesome, yay, I can sell myself in employment. And then I graduated, and for 3.5 years, I struck out in interview after 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 interview. You get the point. And I sort of learned that, okay, I need to tailor my CV, I need to take the disability out of it because people are getting scared. They don't know that I can. So I changed wheelchair basketball coach to sports coach, and I got so many more interviews from that. Bad, don't do that. But then when I got to the interview, I would come either in my wheelchair, or I'd use a walking stick, or I'd have my hearing aids in, and they'd just go, "Oh, difference. I don't know what I'm doing." So eventually it took someone within a company that I went to university with to talk me up from the inside to be like, okay, yeah, they're deafblind, but they are a phenomenal scientist. I probably should have mentioned I'm a scientist at the start. I'm a scientist, hi. But they talked me up from the inside and then got me the interview. And with the support of him, his partner, and other people that had just like spoken to me 3 times over Messenger, like, oh, Max might be coming to work for us soon, I got the job. Woo! Thank you. So now what I do is I'm a cell line engineer. So I genetically edit cell lines to be used in research for rare disease. And sometimes I see some of mine come through, which is really fun, and I wish them well on their journey to, to changing the world. But being disabled in employment is really difficult. So we've had people in the interviews I show up and they're like, oh, waste of time. And then I get there, and now the script has completely flipped. Oh, you can't be that disabled because you're a scientist, so obviously everything's fine. And I'm like, is it? Is waking up with a dislocated hip every day fine? That's your definition of fine? Because do you have EDS? Maybe we should get you assessed. And just having people constantly question either my abilities as a scientist or just my disabilities, as if the two cannot coexist. There's a solid group of people that believe that disabled people can't do anything. And that is completely false. Being closed-minded, this is so cheesy, but being closed-minded is the biggest disability I know. Because being disabled makes me the phenomenal scientist that I am. My visual impairment helps me spot things in cell culture that other people completely miss, because it amplifies the teeny tiny details. Whereas other people, they're squinting down the microscope, they don't know what they're looking at. So I think I have 2 calls to action. I started with one when I planned this. My first call to action is to just be open-minded. Disabled people are great. We are great at troubleshooting. We can solve problems way better than other people because we've had to do it our whole lives. Like going through university, I had to figure out how I was going to get there when my legs were not doing the job. And I got to wheelchair, whereas able-bodied people off sick. I still got there. And then my second call to action is for other disabled people like me. There's that famous quote by Ruth S., "Do it scared." And you might be scared of what people will think, do it scared. You might be disabled, do it disabled. Do it deaf, do it blind, do it in a wheelchair, do it crying, do it anxious, do it for you, do it for the others that come after you.
Thank you very much. We're just going to go over now to our next one. This is from Maxwell, who can't be with us today, and he's going to talk about what it's like to live with SMA and being a student at university.
All volunteer for Cornwell Children's Charity, MacInnes Revolution and SMA UK, all leading charities in their respective industry. My goal is to change people's views on disability by breaking down stereotypes that many of us face day to day, through podcasts, talks, social media, where I share my achievements, struggles, and everyday life. Just like any other 19-year-old, I have aspirations and dreams of conquering the world. I would like to say that I've already started by achieving some great epic things, like setting up my own business or speaking in front of billionaires earlier this year. I'm a proud business management student because of what I've been through to get where I am. I have a condition called spinal muscular atrophy, a muscle wasting condition that slowly weakens the connections from my brain to my muscles. I was diagnosed at 2 years old after not hitting key milestones like walking or crawling. I was put in a power chair at the age of 2.5, and I was told that I wouldn't live to see my teenage years. As I grew older, I realised I was smart and that's what set me apart from other kids. I couldn't beat my peers in a football match, but when it came to solving an equation, it was a level playing field where I could compete. As I grew older, it was hard for my parents to hide the challenges that they had been shielding me from, which later impacted my life beyond repair. Today, I want to talk about how the educational system failed me. My battle with the educational system started from the moment I attended my first lesson in Year 1. From being changed to go to the toilet on a cold, dirty floor, to having to fight for a disabled toilet and physio room, which I was told off for having once I got because it took too long to go to the toilet. I felt as if I was tortured every day. My human rights had been stripped from me from the moment I even arrived. I was excluded from PE, school trips, award ceremonies, and much more. I remember picking up an award for being the highest achiever in business and collecting it at the bottom of the stage while my peers celebrated on the stage behind. I didn't even want to be there. It was embarrassing. I was degraded as some sort of second-class citizen, discriminated against, but often segregated. I grew up shy, quiet, and an overlooked person. The same school management who gave me my awards, confirming my high grades, didn't even care about my access needs. My celebrant was my oppressor. I wanted to bring light to what so many of us have gone through, to bring change, so we can function in society. I want to tell you the story of some challenges I faced. Access needs are so simple at times, but when left forgotten about, can cause devastating impact on the person. A fire evacuation plan is something all schools have in place, so in an emergency, they can get everyone out of the building. It required some basic paperwork, a chair at the top of the stairs in case the lift was out of action, which was adapted to go down them. This was not completed. For my whole time in sixth form, I remained at the bottom of the building, even though there was a lift. I wasn't allowed to use it. That meant I couldn't access the computers and resources upstairs. I couldn't study in a quiet place, and I was completely excluded from my friends. I felt so alone and not valued. I didn't feel human at times. A simple fix the school and the council had funding for was not done. Because no one cared, I was put in a disadvantaged position, but was supposed to enjoy and do well in my A-levels. A clear system with consequences to the school needs to be put in place so members of staff can be held accountable. My problem was nobody felt as if they were accountable, which meant I was left out. You go to school to learn. During COVID, my school couldn't even provide me with adequate education. Whilst I was at home shielding, resources were barely online, even though they had done this for all pupils a couple of months before. Lessons were often streamed late, resource sheets were not uploaded online, and microphones were not put in the correct place. It left my TAs trying their best to educate me on something they didn't know. I asked you if you think employing a teacher in physics and asking them to teach French is the appropriate standard of teaching in this country. That's what my A-levels practically consisted of. In those moments of not seeing the outside world in so long, I was teaching myself in my room, alone, knowing when I eventually went back to school, I went to be alone to fight my own battles I shouldn't even be facing. We need more equipment in our school classrooms so that doesn't happen again. So if you're sick, have hospital equipment, or it simply isn't safe to come into school. All necessary lessons are recorded to be used later. I ended up doing well for myself, but what happens if I wasn't as motivated and determined? In fact, most of my friends doing the same course as me said they couldn't do what I did. I wouldn't wish what happened to me on my worst enemy. Unfortunately, other wheelchair users and people with additional access needs will go through this too. Maybe they won't be as lucky as me. Change is needed now, so the next child growing up doesn't get everything stripped from them for simply trying to live. We need to wake up to these easy access changes that can be made. Being disabled is one of the only minority groups that you can join. Over 1.5 billion students have SEN, special educational needs. We need to help them so that they aren't failed by the system, like me. Let's be the change our educational system needs. Stand with me in advocating for equal access and opportunities for all students with disabilities. Share their stories, demand policy changes, and support organisations working towards a more inclusive future. Together, we can break down barriers and ensure that no student faces the challenges I did. Join the movement for an accessible and equitable education system.
That's great. I'd now like to introduce Ellie to the stage. Ellie is a member of Unique Feet, and we'll be talking about people with this making assumptions about her.
Hi, my name's Ellie and this is my rare bear. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's a 21-year-old got a soft toy with her? To answer this question, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I am part of Unique Feet, run by Cambridge Rare Disease Network, which is a support group for people with rare conditions. I have a rare condition called Kabuki syndrome. This means that I have a learning disability and I struggle to understand the world around me. This makes me anxious quite a lot of the time. And a lot of people with my condition suffer from anxiety disorders. My bear is a rare bear. It is the only one of its kind, and it helps me feel a little bit calmer. Every owner of a rare bear has a rare condition, so it's something that makes me feel part of a group and feel like I'm accepted and not judged. As well as having learning disabilities, people with Kabuki syndrome have physical impairments, like rounded backs and low muscle tone, and problems with our eyes, ears and teeth, so we can fall over a bit and suffer from aches and pains. We usually have almond-shaped eyes and button noses. Today, I would like to talk to you about how frustrating it is when people judge me straight away because of my rare condition. In this day and age, you would have hoped that this has improved, but a survey shows that a shocking 43% of people feel like they have been judged straight away. This needs to change. There are things that can be done. For example, if more businesses and staff were trained about disabilities, then they would know the do's and don'ts to make people with disabilities feel like they feel accepted and equal to people who don't have a rare disease or other disabilities. I'd now like to tell you a story or two about how I was judged. I was sitting in my local library one day and I was reading a book. Now, if you know me, you know that I love a good book, and my reading skills, if I do say so myself, are nearly as good as most adults. I was sitting there reading a book, and a woman who worked there came over to me and said this. She said, "Would you like me to take you over to the children's picture books?" This made me feel quite upset, and whenever I go to that library now, I sit away from everyone because I'm scared it might happen again. But why should I have to do that? Why is it up to me to change what I do so it doesn't happen again? I also wonder if anybody else has been treated like this. I can't change how other people might feel if they also have a bad experience. But if this lady was trained in disabilities, then this probably would not have happened to me, and it would stop other people feeling sad. The next story I'm going to tell is even worse. I was on the bus going to my local town centre. I love getting on a bus, and I go there because it gives me some independence. And I worked hard with a travel trainer to have the confidence to get on the bus by myself. What happened next made me never want to get on a bus again. I was sitting at the front of the bus as the driver had driven off without me sitting down first, and I was worried that I was going to fall over. My ankle was very wobbly that day, so I sat at the front of the bus with my sunflower lanyard on and my headphones in, and I was quite happy. At the next stop, a man got on, and he walked over to me, so I took my headphones out, and he said, and I quote, "Why are you sitting there? You don't have a disability." I was shocked. I didn't know how to respond to that. That's not all. He was shouting at me and giving me grief. In the end, I said I have a hidden disability and I sat here because my ankle was playing up and I didn't want to fall over. When we got off the bus, he got off the bus tutting as he went. Where was the bus driver, I hear you ask? Sitting there, not doing anything, because he had no idea what to do. If he was trained about people with disabilities, then he could have told the man to get to his seat or get off. I shouldn't have to explain myself. I had my sunflower lanyard on, and if more people knew or cared about what this meant, this man might have left me alone. The story still makes me feel sad. Both of these stories would not have happened if the library staff and bus driver were trained about disabilities. Simple things like explaining that not all disabilities are visible, not making judgments about people that look different, helping people with disabilities to have the same opportunities as people who don't have disabilities. People who know me know that I love football, and I'm an Ipswich Town Football Club season ticket holder. I was very shocked to hear that Ipswich is the first club to train their staff in the sunflower lanyard. So every other league football club has no idea how to deal with unseen disabilities. I think in 2023 this is unacceptable. I think people with rare diseases and disabilities should be able to enjoy the same things as anybody else without worrying about being made to feel different or bad about themselves. So I'll leave you with these questions. Is it okay that people with disabilities are judged straight away? Can you help raise awareness so that people with disabilities and rare diseases are treated fairly? Can you help people like me feel accepted and confident to do the things that people without rare diseases can do? Can you make sure your workplace is providing training? Can you be the person that changes others when you see something isn't right? Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you all ever so much. That's a great job from all of you. We're now going to have a few questions, and I'll do a bit of a summary at the end for you. So, one of the questions I wanted to ask, because this is something that affected me a lot when I was younger, was transitioning from paediatric healthcare into adult healthcare, and some of the challenges I think are quite obvious, but I just wondered if the three of you had anything to sort of input. How did you find it? What was it like, going from a ward of being with children and teenagers to then being in a ward of 80-year-old men sometimes? Like, how did you find that experience? I don't know if you wanted to start, maybe.
I'm sort of fortunate and unfortunate that as a kid who would have been put on a paediatrics ward, I was never sort of taken seriously with my health. My only comparison that I can make between the two is, as a kid, I was brushed off as just being a kid, and as an adult, I learned how to advocate for myself and to tell my story and say what my symptoms are in a way that doctors will actually listen to. So another condition that I have is called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS. It's really common with EDS. It took me 13 whole years to get the right test. And as soon as I got the test, it was like one letter saying, oh yeah, you have POTS. I didn't need to wait that 13 years. It was a test that took an hour. It was called a tilt table test. They strap you to a table, they put you upright, they measure your heart rate and your blood pressure. That's all it took. It doesn't need to be 13 years. So I guess my comparison is I was just sort of listened to. There was one appointment where I wasn't being listened to by this one specific doctor who just kept calling me an attention seeker and said, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, like you don't know medicine. So I took both copies of my bachelor's and my master's degree and say, not an idiot. I've read the research, I've read the NICE guidelines. How about you read them? And then I got my referrals and my tilt table test and some other stuff that I was waiting for. So I shouldn't have to take my degree certificates into a doctor's. It's not an interview.
It was absolutely fantastic to hear the three of you and the other two via video. I think, and as someone that's in their early 30s now, I'm not quite considered young anymore, but I think what you spoke about is all so important. So moving slightly away from that, what's something you're most proud of? I mean, I think there's a lot of things I could pick up just from the meeting you all today, but what's something that all of you are really proud of? It can be related to your rare disease, or it could be something that you've done with football or basketball or something. What's something that you're really proud of and makes you feel like you're doing a good job?
I think for me, it's my anxiety has improved a lot, and about 10 years ago I wouldn't have dreamed of doing this. But yeah, I think it takes a lot of courage, but I think I'm proud of that.
Yeah, personally, I would say passing my GCSEs is what I would say is proudest. The local council said I'd never pass. I'd never pass, and I was wasting my time, that I should go straight into vocational education and give up. And now I'm doing my A-levels, which I was never expected to do.
I promise I'll keep this one much quicker than my other points. My proudest moment is being asked to run our global disability employee resource group. So now I have a voice for all of the disabled people within my company, which exists on every continent apart from probably Antarctica. That would be a bit silly. And yeah, just being like an international now disability advocate, as well as doing science, which I fought so hard to get into in the first place, proving that you can actually do both things, and those things are both vital. That overlap is a really important space to be in, and I get to lead that.
I'll just try and do a real quick summary. So from Katrina's video, Katrina's call to action is for lifelong support for physical and mental health, especially from employers, educators and healthcare providers. From Eric, every individual is unique. How can we increase societal awareness and understanding of what it's like to live with a rare condition and how to improve the quality of life for these people? For Max, for people to be open-minded. Being disabled is not limiting. What can we do to be good employees? From Maxwell, talking about his experience at university and the access needs and what can we do to hold these education establishments to account. And from Ellie, Ellie asked, is it okay for people with disabilities to be judged straight away? Can you help people with a rare disease feel accepted and confident? I think as a result of this, I think we need to try and keep this conversation going and not just leave it here. Like everyone that's in the audience today, like what can you do and how can you help any of these movements go forward? I'd also like to encourage just a huge round of applause for everyone here to be so vulnerable in such a group of people like this. So can we have a massive round of applause, please?